I'm here today with an incredible student, Evan St. Louis. So before the recording, we were talking about our mental health journey. I already loved Evan, but one of the things I do love about Evan as well is his beautiful curly hair. Evan, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you a lot for having me.
I know we have like a curly club going on.
Yes.
Before we dive into it, because you have so much incredible things to share, I have to ask you, what is your Campus Chronicles story?
Okay, so my Campus Chronicle is my sophomore year of college. I was on the verge of failing out of school. I wasn't going to class, wasn't turning in homework. I couldn't get out of bed, and because of the stigma around men's mental health and asking for help, it was very difficult for me to realize that I needed to go talk to somebody. I thought this was normal, this was fine, and I just needed to get through it. And nothing was working. So I went and talked to a doctor, and I got diagnosed with moderate severe anxiety and depression. And I got medicated, and it sort of started me on this journey of self-discovery and just sort of learning more about myself, stuff that I thought I knew, but I really didn't. And yeah, now I'm doing better in school, but I don't truly think my journey will ever be over. This is something that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life, and I'm excited to learn more about myself.
Exactly. And I think, too, what you said about stigma, so much of that can be impacted as well by this growing up in a small town, being the best of the best, being the top of your class, good at everything. And then you go into a new environment and you're no longer the golden child. You're no longer the perfect one. You're no longer the one that everybody's turning to for answers. And I can tell you from personal experience, because I'm the same way, it killed my self-confidence.
Oh, 100% it does. I mean, I was an only child. I, for a long time, was the only grandchild on either side, really.
So you were perfect.
Yeah, there was nobody to compare me to. It was great. But yeah, I was an only child from a town of little over 2,000 people. High school graduating class of 180. I kind of just showed up for high school, got A's on tests, and then did whatever else I needed to do. I didn't really have to study or anything like that. And that didn't bode very well for college because it gets a lot more difficult. But
did you get culture shock?
100% I did. I mean, it's hard not to. Even just one of the biggest shocks for me that people don't really talk about. You hear all like the fun things about dorm life and going out and having fun in college, but I had never really been around that many people all the time. I'd never shared a room with anybody. I was an only child, so I had my own things and I lived my own way. And honestly, that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me, was being around so many people all the time. That really threw me for a loop.
I think it does. And I think one of the things that was a culture shock for me, right, is if you go from being known in a small town, you know, everybody knows everybody. You go from being known to being anonymous, that can be an identity crisis as well.
Yeah. I, growing up, my parents were involved in the community. I played sports. I was a 2-sport varsity athlete my senior year. I was somebody that people knew. I was a face around town that people would go, "Oh, hey." And then I showed up to college and suddenly there's, like I said, 30,000 people who don't know or care about me. And it was, especially growing up being an only child, being the center of attention my whole life, it was weird to just go to school and not know anybody. And it's one of the things that I still struggle with is making friends in college, because I grew up in a small town and I lived there my whole life. So my friends from kindergarten, first grade are the same friends I graduated high school with. So I never really learned that skill very well.
Well, and I think too, if you grow up around the same people, you build these strong bonds, and then you don't know necessarily the questions to ask or the conversations to have to build strong bonds with people that you don't know who do come from diversely different backgrounds than you, who didn't have your lifestyle. And so then you're thrown into people who may act very different than you, think very different than you, all of the above.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to, go to UConn, which is relatively close to my hometown. So I knew a bunch of people coming into school.
Exactly.
My best friend, my lovely girlfriend, both go to school with me. So
And I think too, for me, as far as like an identity, I built my identity around being good at things. And I know that's kind of like a weird, somewhat stigmatized thing to say, but I 100% lived a life that was entirely devoted to being good at things. Like I was good at this, good at that, good at hobbies, good at extracurriculars. And so when I came into contact with people who may have been better at something than me, it was not easy for me to handle, for lack of a better term. I was very not happy with that.
no, yeah, and I think the other side of it, which I faced a little bit more, is not only building my identity around being good at things, but anxiously and like religiously avoiding the things that either I wasn't good at or I didn't think I was going to be good at.
Thank you for saying that, actually, because I did the same thing. If I knew I wasn't good at something, if I picked it up, math is the perfect example. I wasn't good at math. And so I would do everything I could to avoid conversations about math. I wouldn't discuss math. And then I would talk about the things that I was good at because I couldn't own up to any weakness that I had at all. I thought it made me kind of weak or not accomplished or not good at things.
Well, and I think that's part of the thought process that you just kind of innately develop when you're younger, when you hear, "Oh, you're so smart, you're good, you're so talented, you're so great."
And people are not trying to do anything wrong, but
No.
when you only praise how good a child is at something versus other character qualities like kindness or compassion or thoughtfulness, you grow up thinking that's all you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was it followed me up until now pretty much.
Yeah.
I went into college. I was the opposite of you. I was really good at math and science in high school. Like that was my thing. And so I guess without even really thinking about it, I just kind of assumed that I had to do engineering in college. And so that's what I did. And it took me a whole 2 years to realize that, hey, this isn't for me.
What was the turning point to realize this was not for you?
It was the first semester after I got medicated, and I was going to class, and I was a lot better about turning in work and studying and all the good student things. And I realized I was just like, I hate this. Like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm good at it, but it just wasn't enjoyable. And I think up until that point, I thought it was just my sort of anxious, depressive mind thinking like, oh, I hate school and I hate working. But once I was medicated and my head was a little bit clearer, I realized I was like, I don't really enjoy this very much. And that's not to say that engineering is wrong or evil inherently. It just wasn't for me.
No, and there are people who are very good at it who may love it for a variety of reasons. It doesn't have to be that you love it, but it's the pressure. I think that pressure conversation, which kind of leads into the mental health conversation, is we put so much pressure on ourselves to be the person that maybe our parents dream we would be, or our community dreams we would be, or our partner dreams we would be. And when you're struggling with mental health, and I know this because I have struggled a lot with mental health, is you never really stop to ask yourself what you want, because going there, like truly thinking about yourself and where you are in life, tends to be very painful. And so for the most part, you avoid it.
Yeah. And I always, I always compare it to it's my jungle in there. It's in order to get to a certain discovery about myself, I gotta hack through vines. I gotta get through a lot of stuff before I get there. And yeah, I really struggled to do that when I was younger, and I turned to sleeping for 16 hours a day and binge eating and all this other stuff that was unhealthy for dealing with stress. But
And I think too, when you're, because I know this turning point of, for me, the stigma, and you have so much more stigma being a male, is you have to kind of hit a really hard point to finally look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm willing to explore this now. If you're open to sharing and it's not too vulnerable, what was that point for you that you finally decided you couldn't keep living like this?
um I think it was really the end of the semester. Uh I had failed a class, I had dropped a class, I had a D. Like I think I finished with a 1.2 GPA, and my parents were always very open about their own mental health journeys and stuff like that. Um, my father has severe OCD and anxiety and depression that he's medicated for. So he was always super open about it. And it actually wasn't like a super aggressive, like, why are you failing school? It was, which I expected it to be. It was the complete opposite. It was sitting down with the people I care about, with my parents, with my girlfriend, and them being like, it it's not about school anymore. We're worried about you.
Were you
And
surprised to hear them say that they were that worried?
yeah, no, because in my mind, I like to sleep a little bit, and I wasn't doing so good in school. But uh, when you're in the thick of it, you don't really realize how it affects the people around you. You don't realize how it affects your relationships and your life as a whole outside of your work. And I think that
Mm.
it was them sitting me down, like genuinely with emotion in their eyes and saying, "Hey, man, we're worried."
Hmm. No, and I think for me, because I went the opposite way. So I went extremely high functioning in an attempt to mask things that were going on. So I did a number of feats, wrote books, did TED Talks, all sorts of things in an attempt to mask what I was really feeling.
Mhm.
And it can be so hard to discern, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum. Am I over functioning because I'm running for something? Am I sleeping a lot because I want to avoid feeling my real feelings? There's so many different variables that it can be really hard to know when you maybe just like a nap, because a nap's a perfectly normal thing, or when it becomes a problem. Before you were sat down, did you have any clue that maybe things weren't feeling right to you?
Yeah. I always thought it was ADHD
Yeah.
or something like that because I was very like instant dopamine based, just like watch YouTube, play video games, eat junk food. Um, just like small little things that most people from the outside would look at and just say, "Oh, he just likes junk food and he likes sleeping."
Like they
But
wouldn't make a meaning of it.
yeah, but or like taking long naps when I really didn't have time to because there were things going on in my head that I didn't want to happen, and either I could distract myself with something on the TV, or I could just sleep and pass 3 hours until I was distracted by the next thing. And that's really what my life became for a long time, was just
Mm.
a cycle of being distracted by the next thing. And I realized, I was like, this probably isn't healthy.
It's amazing to me And I don't know about your experience, but I never really knew that I was running from something until
Oh,
one day I had a realization. And I would do the most bizarre, achievement feats to try to distract myself. And as soon as I would get done, the feelings would come right back, no matter what.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I from a very early age, even if it wasn't, because when you're 8 years old, you can't really do the same thing you can as an adult. But I was always the kid that acted out. I was every report card. It was good student, craves attention too much. He's always talking out in class and stuff like that. And I think that, it was probably a similar thing, except I was just way younger. And I think that part of the battle with completing all these like big feats and stuff like that just to mask it is that a lot of people get tripped up and they say, okay, well, maybe I have this, but look at all these things that I'm doing. This is what gives me my edge. So I don't need to get medicated. I don't need help. And for some people, that's true. But for a lot of people, it's relatively helpful.
You kind of remind me of, and this is a bit of an aside, but you remind me of one of the Sprouse brothers that I used to watch a show of a very, very long time. They're twins. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm realizing too, obviously I don't have the same experiences as you because you're a male. Why do you think mental health is so much more stigmatized for men? As a man, how is your perspective different than a woman's?
Well, I think that, it's historically, it's very easy to say because men were always the ones with the job while the women stayed home and took care of everything, which thank God is not a thing anymore because I no. But
We have a progressive man here.
but I think it's hundreds upon hundreds of years of men being the big, strong, protective one. That's just how society has painted us to be. That even if we as a society are kind of trying to tackle that now, it's a lot of that stuff is subconscious. It's just in the back of your mind. And so I struggled a lot with like, well, I don't want to disappoint anyone. I got to be strong. I can do it. I can just buck up and be a man and be good. But it takes a lot more than that.
It does. And to your point about the subconscious nature, I know for me, I watched a lot of like princess movies growing up. That's a really big thing that I enjoyed, right? And so as a woman, it's like, I'm going to get a man and he's going to get rid of my problems. So that's even something I did, right? And that didn't get rid of my problems either.
Yeah.
And so for men, obviously pursuing help is maybe a bit more challenging, right? But once you pursued the help, were you surprised by how much it changed your life? And in what ways did it change your life?
Yeah, it was very surprising. I was expecting to get shunned and just nobody would talk to me. My friends wouldn't talk to me anymore. But really what ended up happening is it I was sort of a catalyst to allow a lot of my friends to sort of have that internal dialogue with themselves as well and go talk to people if they thought they needed it. Yeah, they were very supportive. All of the people in my support system were awesome about it. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. It's just it. I thought I was going to be shunned, and instead, I was the sort of inspiration for them to have that internal dialogue too, which is kind of cool to me.
That makes me so happy. So another thing, has it improved your study? Has it improved your relationships, your friendships, even your relationship with your parents?
100% it has, and I think that I think that in the back of my mind, I knew it was going to, and I knew that there was something wrong. I just didn't want to admit it. But since being medicated, I'm in class every day, and I'm active in class, and I'm taking notes, and I'm studying. And a lot of my big blow up arguments with my parents that I used to have weekly have gone away. I mean, they still piss me off. They're still my parents,
It still happens.
but a lot of those arguments have gone away, and I think that our relationship is healing. I will say the one big difference between a lot of women that I know that have gone on a mental health journey versus men is my relationship with my friends really didn't change. A lot of men have extremely surface level relationships with a lot of their friends.
Thank you for admitting that.
Yeah, I know virtually nothing about most of those guys. But so that one really didn't change all that much. It was same old, same old. Half of them, I'm pretty sure, don't even know that I'm medicated. So,
And they probably wouldn't care.
no, they'd be like, okay, great.
And with your girlfriend, I'm sure it's helped your relationship as well.
Yes, 100% it has. She's been my biggest supporter throughout the whole thing. She's been my rock. But there was a time, especially sophomore year, beginning of sophomore year, where we were arguing all the time. And I couldn't figure out why, but I was just upset with the world, I thought, and I was taking it out on her, and I felt terrible. But I couldn't rationalize it, so I couldn't stop it. And since I got medicated, it's been smooth sailing. We moved in together.
Congratulations.
We get to just hang out every day now. It's great.
That makes me so happy for you guys. And I really do love having this conversation because in my past, having been in abusive relationships, things like that, knowing that people maybe did need some support. And when I would say something, it was just, complete anger over those sort of things. And so I'm really happy to hear you talk so openly and vulnerably and candidly about it because it's not easy and it takes a courageous person to do that, but it makes such a big difference, particularly to other men to hear a man like you share about this.
And I think especially, men at my age struggle with it, especially because, I'm supposed to be in the prime of my life right now, as most men my age are. And, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of super supportive friends, but I think that there are a lot of men out there that don't have super supportive friends, a lot of friends that would make fun of them if they did try to talk about it, which sucks. But it was never about whether my friends were going to support me. It was always just about what was going to be best for me. And I think that that's the important thing is with mental health, everybody is worried about how everybody else is going to view them. But what they have to realize is it's not about anybody else. It's your own mental health. It's affecting you more than anybody else. And it's something that you need to deal with.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to feel so much better when you do. Now, Evan, I do have a very hard and semi-challenging question for you, but I'm confident you can do it.
Oh, dear.
So if you were going to give 3 pieces of advice, it can be about anything, but in your lane of expertise too, about mental health here, 3 pieces of advice to university-age students. What would the 3 pieces of advice be?
Well, I think the first one, that's just kind of a blanket piece of advice that is good for anybody, especially people starting college, coming from high school, is participate, is be there. Because one of the things that I struggled with the most was, attendance was mandatory in high school and I had to be there. And then I got to college and it was no longer mandatory. And I was sitting on the couch doing nothing instead of going to class. And
you're paying for it, guys. You've got to go.
It's be there. I know that everybody will hear it and has heard it a million times, but it doesn't diminish the importance of it. It's very important to just be in class. The second one, oh dear, I'm not good at being put on the spot like this. I'm gonna say forgive yourself.
Ooh, that's so good.
I think that a lot of times we're focused on wronging other people and them forgiving us, and I think that we completely forget that there's this entire relationship that we have with our own mind and body, and sometimes you screw it up, sometimes you treat it poorly, and you can't beat yourself up about it. I know that I used to beat myself up constantly about overeating and gaining weight and losing a lot of my athletic form from high school and doing poorly in school, and just I didn't think that I could control it, like it was just happening and I didn't know why. And it really took me forgiving myself and being like, it's okay. This is something that I'm struggling with, but it's okay. I'm going to get through it. I think that was a big step
It
in.
was for me too. Self-forgiveness is hard. It's worth it.
And then I think the final one is lean on people. Even if you're not struggling with mental health, it's always good to find somebody to be able to lean on, whether you're like in a bad mood, whether you had a bad day, or whether it's somebody that can help you academically if you're struggling academically. I know
Hmm.
that I really relied on the UConn Connects program when I was first thinking about like the switching my major and the sort of in between phase. And I got paired up with a mentor that taught me a lot about how I could succeed in school. And there's a person in the world for everything. You just have to be willing to ask.
Hmm. And not judge yourself for asking, because that's a big one. Don't judge yourself for needing help. Humans are built to connect. They're built to be social. We're built to need each other. And even if the world tells us we don't, even if, we're a very individualistic society, because we are now, it doesn't mean we don't still need and benefit from having other people in our lives.
Yeah, 1,000%. I know that have I've had the same support system for the last 6, 7 years. And so it's now I've more settled into it. And obviously my parents I've had my whole life, but even, for the people who some people don't, their parents aren't in the picture, and some people don't have maybe a lot of friends, but there's always somebody that's willing to help. And I think that the other side of it is most people aren't unwilling to help. Most people don't walk around in their daily life wanting to just be mean and hate everybody. Most people, if you go up and talk to them, they'll probably talk to you, assuming they're not busy or like actively focusing on something. We're social
Yes,
creatures. It's scary. I get it. I'm terrified to talk to people, but we're social creatures.
we are. And like Evan said, the vast majority of people are friendly. The vast majority of people want to help you, because everybody knows that we're all just doing the best that we possibly can. So, as we wrap up here, and you've shared so many amazing things, if somebody wants to follow you, where do they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's pretty much the only thing I'm remotely active on. I sort of distanced myself a lot with social media over the past couple of years.
Good.
It's St. Louis Evan _05. It's STLOUISEVAN _05. Yeah, you'll see an occasional reel on my story. It's about it.
And as we sort of wrap up here, I do have to, kind of point out a very amazing aside. So one of our other guests, Madison, this is her boyfriend. So we have two amazing people, two halves of a power couple that we've been able to have on the podcast. And as a personal note for me, to see such a loving, supportive relationship is so meaningful, especially at your guys' age. And I love that you prioritize the mental health so that you could even further that relationship, because that makes me so happy for you.
I mean, realistically, there were a lot of mornings that she was the reason I was doing it, was just to get home to her and be able to give her a kiss. She's been awesome. She was my best friend for a long time before we started dating. So she's been a huge part of my life for a very long time. And I frankly don't know where I'd be without her. I know that's cliche, but
it's cliche, but we want to hear it. And it's so true. Evan, I'm so grateful for how open you are, for how honest you are, for showing up with your curly hair today and just having this beautiful, honest conversation with me. I know we're so grateful and we're so thankful. And I'm just so glad that you were able to share with the open heart that you did.
Of course, I'm always an open book. I love sharing my journey, especially from my specific experience being a young man struggling with mental health. I think that it's really important to share my story, and I think that's really important for everybody to share their own story. Like, we're a world of 8 billion people. No two people are alike, but we share a lot of common struggles and common issues that it's good to get out there in the world and let people know, hey, you're not alone. I have this too.
I know it makes so many people feel seen and heard. And I'm just so grateful that you shared your time with us, because I've had such a good conversation. And I know that anybody listening in is going to take so much from this too. So I want to say a big thank you, Evan, for joining us. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on another episode of the Campus Chronicles podcast. So if today's episode gave you life, perspective, or just a much needed moment to breathe in a busy world, I don't want you to keep it to yourself. Share it, tag us, please send it to a friend who needs to hear it. And if you're not on our newsletter yet, what are you doing? Go to CampusChroniclesPod.com and join the crew. We have all the behind the scenes things, unfiltered thoughts from me and the team, bonus resources, and insider only invites to events, giveaways, and things that we really don't post anywhere else. I promise I'm not going to spam you. It's just the good stuff straight to your inbox. Being in university is wild enough. You don't need to miss out on what matters. Sign up now and let's make this next semester the one that you stop surviving and start thriving. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, keep writing your own chapter. This is Campus Chronicles.